boy,
Boy,
bright and
okay.
early.
Well, everybody's just anxious to be seen. That's all.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Must be it.
How's your day been going?
It's been pretty hectic. My computer's been trying to assassinate me for the past hour. Things come and go.
Well, that's wounding.
It sure as hell is. It sure as hell is. I sent out the minutes about 5 minutes ago
I
from
know. I
last.
saw that. All right, I just have to get a phone charger. I'll be right back.
No. Hey, Nancy.
Hi, Paul. How are you?
Good and yourself.
Thank you.
Hi.
Barbara
Hi,
Beatty.
Nikki. Yeah,
Quiet.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you, Paul?
Not too bad.
Good.
Not too bad. Okay. So let's.
Oh, I have to get my phone charger too. Oh, here it is.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi.
Just for a meeting.
Mickey, how goes it?
I will
Oh,
put
wow.
myself
Oh,
on
yeah.
Yeah,
mute and
good.
all of that stuff.
You don't have to. You can be right there.
It's okay. We go. Thank you for everything you're doing. I know you've got a big agenda tonight. I was looking at it. Whoa.
Well, thank you for all that you're doing. You're going to FinCom and then you're coming to spend the evening. Yeah.
It's all important. So I don't know how I'm not promising I'll last for the whole, but it's important. I mean, and I look carefully at what you're doing.
Oh dear, you'll see the flaws.
Oh, please. Kiddo. Please.
So, Paul, I'm sorry, I didn't have a chance to read these yet.
No, I'm sorry I didn't get them out to you like 3 hours earlier or 3 days earlier. But you may remember that in the old days, we used to get all the minutes for the entire season at the last meeting.
Diane has
So
a.
we're making some progress.
We are. Gosh, tonight we're going to see Austin in person.
Hey,
That's
Austin.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, at least until I start eating dinner, maybe.
Does the person holding 6962 want to say who he or she is?
Ellen Steves.
Now I will remember that number. 696. Is that the one you usually use, Ellen?
Yeah, that's my phone.
Good. Okay. Now I will know.
Okay, thank you.
Mariana.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. This is Ellen Goldberg.
Hello, Ellen.
Are you going to be on the screen, Ellen?
Yep, I'm just managing several computers, so give me a minute. I'll be logged on.
Okay.
Okay. Ellen, are you on 9350?
Yes, that's me.
Okay.
I almost always call in on my phone and get a better quality than voice over IP.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we waiting? Who are we waiting for?
I think we're all here.
Oh, okay.
Who have I not made a note of? Paul, Austin, Nancy, Ellen Goldberg, Ellen Steves, Mickey Long, Lynn, Mariana.
Yeah, we're all here.
All right. Well, very good. It is 7:02. Let's call this meeting to order. Just heard the roll call of Community Preservation Committee members who are here. We also have some guests with us, which is always nice. I will start with the governor's order. So this is Lynn Spencer, and I'm the chairman of this committee. So pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Community Preservation Committee is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of the members will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen or view this meeting while in progress may do so via the remote access instructions provided on the town website. So with that, let us move to the minutes, which are quite fresh in our hands. So I would like to, because it's an important sort of, if you will, stage setting for tonight's discussion, I'd like to be able to give everyone a few minutes to review the minutes. I'd also like to ask whoever phone is on or is creating that background noise to try to mute devices so it's a little less distracting. At least that's what I was hearing. So it's 7:04, so let's take up to 5 minutes to review the minutes. And please make your notes on them so that when we do come back together, we can share them quickly.
I'll move to accept.
You have no changes? I actually haven't finished reading them.
All right.
Could somebody mute their background noise, please? Ellen, what's that?
That's somebody's background noise.
It's a partition going up. I'm sorry about that. We're fine. It'll take half a minute. Fine. Sorry about that.
Mariana, you can always mute yourself temporarily.
I know, but I didn't. I was just hoping that you won't be so sensitive. Sorry about that.
All right, that's the 5 minutes. So are there any comments or edits on these minutes? I have some. Nobody else does. Paul, on page 1, under the Nahant new Nahant Land Company.
Yeah.
I think we need to make it clear that town council's Dan Script reviewed proposals and then sort of made clarifying comments about the intent of community preservation to achieve demonstrated public good.
You mean you want me to shorten that to that sort of a statement?
No, I want that first line, town council Dan Script reviewed proposals as requested by CPC.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I just want
Yeah,
you to add
it's right. Okay, it said that 3 lines up, reviewed proposals as requested by CPC.
right, but I want to clarify there that that's where the public good becomes a predominant, it dominates the conversation.
Okay, I'll phrase that.
Okay, and then
That's all moot, by the way. You know, they've withdrawn their proposal.
no, I didn't know that.
Tony, oh, that's okay. Sorry, that's
Did you have
out of
any-
order.
Well, that's all right. It's okay, but I didn't know that.
Yeah, Sandy was supposed to get in touch with you. Unless he's changed his mind, but he wouldn't be able to do that without talking to the rest of us, and I haven't heard from him to that effect.
Well, all right, but still for record purpose.
Yeah, sure.
Right,
Sure.
it's
No
still part of the
worries.
minutes.
No worries. Surely you must have more recommendations for change.
Right, and I guess I just want to clarify that under my comment, under that section, it says the Tudor building could receive CPC funds for historic preservation based on, could you make that a preservation restriction and not a conservation restriction?
Yeah, I didn't understand why it said that, but it makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other comments from the committee? Well, Mickey, it's your turn.
I'll move again to accept the minutes as edited.
All right, do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Austin. So I guess I have to do a roll call vote. All those who are in favor of accepting the minutes as edited. Paul,
Aye.
Austin,
Aye.
Nancy,
Aye.
Ellen G,
Aye.
Ellen Steves,
Aye.
Mickey,
Aye.
Mariana,
Aye.
and Lynn. Aye. Thank you, Paul. Well
Sure.
done. And as we're being reminded, they need to be filed, with the town clerk.
Yeah, I'm filing them one at a time.
Great,
Okay.
thank you. So folks, we have some real work to do. As you saw from my email this morning, the FinCom is giving us a special meeting on April 1st, which I just think is apt somehow. I'd like to ask Ellen if she would kindly put the chart up on the screen.
Is that the new one that you sent out this morning?
Yes, it is. And that one, folks, includes this year's articles as well as last year's articles. All
Yep,
written out.
give me just a minute to open the file of,
Sure.
and I just want to save it locally, so if I make any changes, I'm able to grab them if
That would be
something
great.
happens.
Thank you, Ellen.
Yep, so, yeah,
And
you're welcome.
while you're doing that, I'd just like to have the committee sort of be with me as I think about this. Rather than going line by line on this, although we do have things to return to, I'd like to talk conceptually about what I put in my email to you this morning, the amount of money the amount of grants that we have considered, the amount of money that we have to appropriate, and then the issue of how much we want to leave in the general reserve and how much we would consider bonding for the basically the town hall, public library, and Green Lawn Cemetery potential bonds. So I'd like to be able to sort of have that as the framing discussion, and then we will return to some of the individual grant applications. Does that work for everyone?
Yep.
Okay. Are we almost there, Ellen?
Yeah, Tony will need, or whoever is the host needs to allow me to share my screen.
I don't know if I am or not. Where would I look for that if I am?
I'm gonna look at the participant list and see who's the host.
That's
Is
a good idea.
Yeah, it doesn't look like. So you're gonna have to ask Tony to make somebody the host. It sounds like he might have started the meeting. Who started the meeting?
I did. I was the first one on. Oh, no, I wasn't. Of course I wasn't.
I think I was the first one on here.
Whoever the host of the meeting is, the town of Nahant is disabled participant sharing. That's why every time we get on, Tony makes me the host so that I can share my screen. I just tried to share my screen and it says host disabled participant screen sharing. So,
All right, well, let me try you, Ellen. Let me just see what happens if I do this.
There is a
Sure.
chat for you. There is a chat for you, Ellen.
What's that?
Michelle Capuano has a chat. Claim host.
Yeah, I know. I saw it. It's
Okay.
you have to. I can only claim the host if the host is here to let me take it.
You don't know who it is. That's
It's always Tony. I could. Yeah, I can't. I don't have the option to claim a host. The host is not here. Does anybody have Tony's cell phone and can text him or something?
I can be in touch with him. I'll try.
Just have him log on and make me the host, and then we can share screen.
Okay.
He's just coming on.
Great.
There he is.
Hello,
Hi,
Tony.
Tony. How are you?
good, how's it going?
Good. So whomever the host of this meeting is needs to make one of us the host so that we can screen share. We're unable to screen share.
Okay, so nobody. All right, hold on then. I'll sign out and sign right back in.
Thank you. He most likely has to be signed on as the town of Nahant and not a participant.
Yeah, host is town hall. If you click on the emblem on the upper left, it then gives you information about the meeting.
Right. I mean, we can continue without it, but it is
Yeah.
very useful to have it up on the screen.
Well, all right. Why don't we continue without it while that's being worked out? So, big picture. With combined fiscal year 21 and 22 funding available, we have $976,531. With the recommendations that we have approved to date between our meeting last week on fiscal year 22 and last year's work on fiscal year 21, we could have as low as $638,945 and perhaps as high as approximately $750,000 worth of recommendations to go to the town meeting.
Ellen, do you want to be the host?
Yes, please.
Lynn, excuse me, did the 750 figure include any bonding?
No.
None.
No, not in that calculation. There's the potential for that bonding. So there we go. Let's actually just look at this for big picture. So this is really helpful. Thank you, Ellen. Could we just sort of start at the top, please?
Yep, that's what I was going to ask where you wanted to be.
Yeah. So I don't want to go through these individually per se, but I think we want to focus on the recommendations column. So, and you know, I will say,
freeze panes right here.
I'm sorry?
Oh, this one right here, this column,
Yeah,
column 8. Okay,
right.
okay.
Now, I will pause and contradict myself because it's easily done. Is it formal, Paul, that the new Nahant Land Company application is being withdrawn?
Yes, I'm puzzled as to why it wasn't, they didn't go through with it officially. But we agreed on, excuse me, at a meeting last week to do that. And Tony was supposed to be in touch with you.
Tony or
I'm
Sandy?
sorry. Andy.
Sandy, okay. Anyway,
Sorry.
fine. Regardless, we can take that off, but regardless, it's not part of the financial calculations. Sort of moving down, we had voted to actively consider the Little League, $32,375. Next down, number 3. Nahant Planning Board, this is under review, subject to a considerable amount of coordination that we've asked for between amongst the Conservation Commission, the Open Space and Recreation Committee, the town administration, and the neighbors. So that stays under review. Next down. This is where we start getting into the consideration of bonding. So this was one of potentially 3, maybe 4 projects that could be considered as part of a conglomerate bond, basically for town buildings. This was the public library, which could have a value as adjusted upwards of $200,000 worth of needs. You can go down next, Ellen. Then we skip to you know, maybe if you'll actually work with me on skipping down, Ellen, let's collect the other ones. Yes, that's right. So the other ones that could be considered as part of that larger bond could be the Green Lawn Cemetery walls and archway, as well as the town hall, where last year we actually looked at an appropriation of $165,000 for handicapped access work. And then there's additional work on town hall that falls into that, imminent need category. So that's why conversations with Tony at our meeting last week were considering what it meant to look at a bond of $750,000 that would be spread across those three projects. That's the biggest thing that we have to consider tonight. But let's just look at the particulars of the other part of what is in the subtotal below. So if we just bounce up again, Ellen, to the previous place. Yes, the American Legion, based on our the review with town council last week and the discussions, it appeared that the interior for refurbishment was not eligible, given the fact that it had been accomplished. But what is potentially eligible is the sign with the introduction to it of community preservation grant acknowledgement. So that's why what was previously budgeted at 3810, I pushed up to $400,000 to sort of carry that additional portion of the sign acknowledgement.
Yeah, you misspoke, 4,000, not 400,000.
Yeah, what was I thinking about? I'll have some more tea. Maybe I'll have a cookie. God.
Yeah, blood
Anyway,
sugar,
blood sugar is low. So then next, we had voted for active consideration, the $120,000 for that funds the rest of the basketball and tennis court need. Next, number 7, Town of Nahant. Actually, I'm glad to have the minutes, Paul, because it appears that this has actually been withdrawn by the Town of Nahant, so we can sort of modify that. Ellen, if we keep moving down, we've just talked about the potential of bonding number 8, the Green Lawn Cemetery walls. And then we drop down to number 9, which is the 3rd year of the existing library bond of $400,000, which will be an obligation. Number 10 is East Point for the $1.5 million bond for the conservation effort out there. There's no obligation on that until it's executed, and there are 2 steps for that to be executed by the town meeting and the Board of Selectmen. So that will not hit this particular budget. It could hit future budgets. The housing reserve has already been credited in the calculations that were given to us by Allison at Town Hall. So we remember that, but it's not sort of taking away from this number. And then we have the $10,000 that we are setting aside for administration, which in part pays for the printing of the town warrant. So what we get down to is given the things that we have voted on that would hit this year, this would be a subtotal of $224,375. Now, that I have shown the line for that 10-year bond at 10-year $750,000 bond. And I note that the year 1, when that gets executed, could be $91,878. And then as the 10 years roll on, it keeps sort of diminishing somewhat in the obligation each year. So that clear as mud?
I'm having trouble with this, Lynn, because I, at at what point do you have the 91K as a line item?
The 91K?
Yes, for the bond, for the 10-year bond. Where is that? What line item is that?
It's
that
showing under,
I'm sorry, go
right
ahead.
in front of you on the screen. I haven't numbered it. It should be, it could be number 14. Do you see it? Do you see it?
Town of Nahant. Oh, 10-year, there it is. Okay, fine. So it says no.
No
Public
obligation.
library,
until
no
X.
obligation until executed.
That's right. And that's the same with the town, the East Point.
With East
bond.
Point.
Mhm.
Okay, fine. But that 91K is instead of other money that does appear as line items. How
But
come those items don't disappear?
They have.
They have?
Yes. Do you want to scroll back up, Ellen?
Okay.
You see?
Go up to the library. It looks to
Under
it looks to
recommend,
me like those figures are still there.
Paul, you go into the recommendations column. That's where the numbers are, that's where they actually appear to actually be obligated.
Somebody needs to mute a background noise. I'm sorry, Lynn, what did you say?
So the recommendations column show the
Yes.
actual numbers,
Correct. Okay.
okay?
So, all right. So we don't really have a column that shows a potential first year obligations, both active and bonded.
Now, that would be the next year's, and that's the point I want to make, because you can see that, for instance, with the public library, now in year 3, it hits this budget. If we obligate the $1.5 million for the bond, it could hit next year or the following year. If we obligate the $750,000 bond, it could, and that moves forward, it's likely to hit next year, depending on when the actual borrowing takes place. Now, the early years of those costs can be quite low. They oftentimes just sort of take a $4,000 or $5,000 sort of pull on it, but we, for budget purposes, should consider the whole amount. So the bottom line for what we have actively considered approving for the toll, if you will, on this year's budget is $224,000. But for next year, and this is why I really want to talk about that bond amount, that next year, that amount could be, the $92,000 for year 1 for a $750,000 bond. It could be another 50, call it for ease purposes, $60,000 for the library bond. And it could be as much as $109,000 for the first year of the East Point bond. That subtotals $259,000. If you consider that in relation to what we see as an annual appropriation, it gives us very little flexibility to consider additional grant applications. And that is why I suggested in my email to you this morning that we really have to think about that bond amount that potential new bond amount very carefully.
So is this a discussion now open for people to discuss?
Yes, I just would like to actually, if we could keep rolling down though, so you get the rest of the picture in case you didn't have time to study this today, and I appreciate that. If we look at next year, or excuse me, last year, fiscal year 21, just keep rolling down. That's where I recounted all the ones that we had approved last year with those recommended amounts. And that's really the column that we have to focus on. I've shown what has been withdrawn of those. And then I also, if you keep going down a little bit further, I also showed under the J, the town of Nahant, that possible bonding as part of that $165,000. So if you keep rolling down, Ellen, furthermore, I also show the credit of those little articles that were sort of clawing back. We get to an adjusted amount of 414,570. Now you might remember that last week we were looking at just over $600,000 because of that $165,000 town hall budget. By taking that out and putting that into a bonding category, we dropped that amount significantly. If you keep rolling down further, Ellen, that's a little bit further. Yep, that's where you get to those two amounts, subtotal $638,945. Our money available, and I'm using the 50% match mean, is $976,531. So if we were to adopt this approach, we would end up with quite a generous general reserve. But in the future, as I said, we would be constraining ourselves in our grant making because of these three bond obligations. Does that help the understanding of things?
So I understand what you're saying, Lynn, and why we might not want to have that giant amount of town money in bonds, but I'm not quite sure I understand the alternatives.
Well, the alternative would be to have less of a giant bond.
Right,
So
but then that means upfront funding them?
that's right. That would mean, for instance, Nancy, that we would restore the $165,000 from, as an act of appropriation for town hall universal access, and that we would consider a lesser amount bonded for the library, the archway, and some more town hall repairs. And even though Tony is not able to join us tonight, he and I did have a conversation about this near the end of the day because he had taken the time to look at this schedule and understand its implications. So we could, for instance, instead of bonding, as I said, restore that 165 into this picture and it therefore increase the amount that we're appropriating from CPA. That will decrease our general reserve. And then we can still bond. If we were to bond, unfortunately, I couldn't make the bond calculator work for me tonight because it was frozen. But if we were to bond $400,000, for instance, and I have this experience from the library bond of that same amount, it'd be a $60,000 obligation. If you were to bond $500,000, it sort of would go up incrementally, probably to around $70,000. So I hope that's helpful.
Lynn, it seems to me like it's a question of whether you want to pay out the money now in terms of lump sums, or whether you want to pay it out over a long period of time. There's just as much money available, less the difference in the interest. Because we could always consider that even though on a yearly basis we are committed for 85 or 90% of our likely revenue if we have the big bond, nevertheless, there's more money available in the general reserve, and you could augment your budget from the general reserve.
That's true.
Yeah. So I don't see that as a downside. I see that once money is spent, it's gone. Okay. Once, if we bond it, then we still have options for spending the money on a yearly basis. I don't think we lose any options. And the discussion that we had last week is that there are major inherent advantages to having a comprehensive program of restoring properties that are in desperate need of it, in terms of how quickly we can get it done, how efficiently, and the quality of our contractors. And I think that's a very important consideration to keep in mind. So I would strongly favor bonding as much as it is justifiable to bond in terms of the projects themselves, and consider augmenting the budget that we would need to entertain new projects from the general reserves, which would be larger to begin with.
Thoughts from others?
I see Paul's point, but I also could see separating out the town hall ADA work, as that's completely unrelated to sort of the type of work that needs to happen at the library and some other exterior repairs to town hall and the wall repairs. It's all sort of masonry work. So I could see an argument for separating out the ADA work at town hall and then lumping all that other work together and sort of allowing town hall to prioritize how that money gets allocated.
I am cautious about the height of the bond, because if you look at our calculations, you know, if we look at the 50% match scenario that we're using this year, just bear with me on this. That's $325,000. If we were to adopt the $750,000 bond plus the other two bonds, that would obligate approximately $230,000 a year. That leaves us $95,000, from which we would need to take the housing appropriation. That would leave us $63,000, plus the reserve, as Paul has said. But it's a pretty, I think it's a pretty narrow path. And
I don't see how the numbers differ, Lynn.
Well, they do. I mean, you just don't have that much. You will have a higher reserve, but you'll have a smaller amount, and you may have you just have unexpected things that might happen. And believe me, you're talking to a preservationist, so people like me love to spend this money on old buildings. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just concerned that we may be hamstringing our future committee's activities. But I'd like to hear from others on the group. I understand your point of view, Paul. I'd love to hear from, Nancy and Mariana, Mickey. Mickey always has things to say. How come you're so quiet there, Mickey?
Yeah, I'm just perplexed as to what to do. It's going to be very controversial for this East Point. Now you're shooting for 750,000 on the bonding. I'm being quiet because I'm just waiting for the vote. Well, my sense is I think we're looking to ask town meeting to bond off a lot of stuff at a bad time. I'm just wondering if one of these projects can wait till next year.
Well, the scenario that I'm suggesting you consider is that we put the $165,000 for handicapped access both back into an active draw on this year, and that we bond, either $400,000 or $500,000, not the full 750.
Well, if you take 160 out of 750, that's 590.
Right, and believe me, but that number was derived, Paul, watch my gesture. There was a certain amount of this. You know, we had a lot of estimated needs on the 2018 study, but it wasn't sort of, you know, I looked at it with Tony, but you could as easily spend less and still probably be coming back for, you know, perhaps future appropriations. That 750 would not do all of the Green Lawn Cemetery wall, for instance, and the library. It just isn't going to do it.
Then you're talking about reconsidering the proposals on the merits, not on the finances.
On the merit, yes.
It's the finances that's kind of getting your attention.
That's
But
right.
what you're really doing is reviewing the proposals on the merits.
Mhm.
Because what you're saying is if you commit to a bond, you've endorsed the projects. And I think you're having second thoughts about that.
Well, no, I have the belief that the work is needed, but I don't have a detailed line by line breakdown of each of those things. So we know as we look at the you know, the individual charts on those buildings that there's significant needs. We know that the librarian has Sharon has put together a grant application this year, you know, which could, you know, derive, you know, looks at a overall need of around $600,000, but is only applying for $200,000 from us, plus putting in another $120,000 from between a grant application and the Friends of the Libraries match. So I just think that like I said, I'm concerned about hamstringing the committee in future grant considerations next year by only leaving it $63,000 in, you know, allocatable funds. But yes, and with a very significant reserve. And somebody might say, why are you carrying such a significant reserve?
Well, they always do, so why are we?
Well, because that's so for
That
my
angers people. And there's some people who are very angry about that for good reason.
Yeah.
You know, the money's here to either be spent, and you're asking folks to bond off, and you know, you're looking at some almost $2.5 million in bonds that you're going to be uttering at town meeting. You know, I'm fine with it. I just don't think everybody's going to be fine with it.
I'm not either. So that's what I'm saying. I think it's too much. Ellen, your thoughts?
I mean, Ellen Goldberg or Ellen Steves?
Either one of them.
Ellen Steves, I can't balance my checkbook. So not good at this part.
Ellen Goldberg?
I agree with the need to maintain more of a reserve. So I feel like, you know, Mickey's got a good point, which is, you know, people could be upset about the fact that you have money in reserves and we're going to put out all this bond. The fact is we're going to be recommending a big bond anyway. So is it 400,000? Are they going to be more upset about 400 versus 700 or, you know, vice versa? You know, on the other side of that coin is you get people coming in a year or so and being upset that there's no money to appropriate, and here they are paying their taxes. for the CPC and aren't getting any benefit because X number of years into the future has been already spoken for in FY 2022. And I don't think that is fair to us and to the town for the future. It's obligating everything that we've got now without really understanding what's coming down the line. So I would prefer to see a little more kept back, personally.
I'm not sure I'm quite understanding what you mean by kept back.
Well, I'm sorry, not bonded. There we go.
Okay.
So if you don't bond it, you either spend it on current projects or you reject or defer the project.
Or ask the project managers to reevaluate the full needs. So is $750,000 really the full priority that you're going to spend? I mean, I'm sure we could all spend it, but can we prioritize it? Can we reduce it to the critical needs the way that we've done in the past with others? You know, I'm just trying to, I mean, my personal approach is just to be, you know, less, we have it, so spend it, and more, well, let's plan it a little bit more. That's all. Save it. So that's just, that is my perspective. That's the framework I come from. It's not right or wrong. It's just my perspective. It's my approach.
So is there, in terms of the reserve, is there some amount we have to keep there?
No, we have just customarily tried to keep over $100,000. Right now, Nancy, as you see on this chart, maybe if you just scroll down a little bit further, Ellen, you'll see that right now our reserve is around $75,000. It's a little bit lower than we usually have. No, further up, it's, oh, maybe it doesn't show right there.
No, it doesn't.
Um,
Well, there's a reserve. There's a general reserve. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then FY21 plus the 337. So FY21 at 74.
So do you not want to take any money out of that? Since it's so lower than you would usually have anyway.
I'm not sure I'm understanding your question.
Well, Mickey said, why do we keep so much money in the reserve? And then bond all this other money. So I'm just asking how much we could take out of the reserve to not keep it that high.
So what I would like to propose is this. I would like to propose that we return the $165,000 grant that we were potentially taking away from the town hall handicapped access and putting it into this bond. I would like to return it back into the active draw pot. And that would add, you know, for fiscal year 21, they do an adjusted amount of, would adjust that to $600,000.
So that makes sense to me because one of the reasons why we lumped things together was because to try to facilitate work on these projects maybe simultaneously or something. But as Austin said, that particular ADA part doesn't pertain to that rest of the construction and design stuff and saving money. So that makes sense to take that part away.
I think it does. And then I would like to say, if we then also assume that the fiscal year 22 is, I'm just going to round that up to $225,000. It's $224,000 and change. If I just sort of make that 225 for ease of math, that's a subtotal of active draws on our monies of $825,000. We have $976,000 to work with. So that would leave a net of $161,000 that would be sitting in the reserve, adding to the existing $74,000. I
Total
would
of
also,
more than 220, is that right? Is that
I'm
what
sorry?
you're saying? Are you saying a total of more than 220, adding those two?
Yeah. Then what I'd like to suggest we consider is bonding. If we could look at what it means to bond $500,000 for that, would be our recommendation to the town meeting. But the actual draw on that will not hit until the bond is taken, which is probably going to be sometime next year. That would be a potential impact of starting out at $70,000 a year. And that would mean that we would be looking at potentially from that $500,000 bond, we'd be looking at 70,000. And now I'm thinking about next year. This would be fiscal year 23. We would be obligating $70,000 for that bond, $58,000 for the library bond, and then $109,000 when and if it gets bonded for the East Point bond. Those three numbers subtotal $237,000. Like I said, we would then be looking at that in contrast to the $325,000 and the amount of reserve that we would have available to us.
Lynn, are you looking for a motion?
Well, I'm looking for somebody to say this could be making some sense, Austin. I don't know.
It makes sense to me, and I sort of agree that's a reasonable approach. Whether we're recommending bonding 500,000 or 450,000 and spending that other 165,000 from available funds.
Well, if you want to make a
Before I
motion,
lose the thread here, Lynn, what you just proposed is to essentially decrease the bonding obligation on a yearly basis by about $20,000.
Mhm.
So I think we need to keep that in perspective. I don't see where the big difference is, but maybe I'm missing something.
Well, the big difference is, it's $20,000 when it comes to sort of the picture for next year. That's what it means. And it also, it doesn't have us holding such a large reserve, which I think could be challenged by people because we are paying interest. I mean, that $750,000 bond had, nearly $100,000 of interest. So why carry that interest?
Well, then I suppose you could always, all right, never mind. All right.
Am I entertaining a motion, Austin?
Yes, I would make a motion to withdraw the ADA town hall work from the bonding, pay that out of available funds, and then bond $500,000 for those other three projects, maybe prioritizing them somehow. Prioritize the library work or something like that.
I'll second.
All right, further discussion on this? Well, hearing no further discussion, I'll ask for a roll call vote. Paula,
Aye.
Austin,
Aye.
Nancy,
Aye.
Ellen Goldberg,
Aye.
Ellen Steves.
Aye.
Thank you, I agree. Mickey Lloyd,
Aye.
Mariana,
Mariana, you're muted.
Mariana. Maybe she's left.
No, she's here. She's saying yes, but she's muted. She's shaking her head yes.
Here, now I'm okay. Yes, I wanted to recuse. I'm not sure that that's the best approach. I'm just wondering about the town hall accessibility ramp. I think it works. It's a lot of money, $160,000 to rebuild the existing structure, which is not perfect, but it works. So it's a lot of money for the, for the accessibility, which will be up to the code until they change the code, which happened not too long ago. That
Well,
ramp-
except,
I have a problem with that. I really feel that that's that's not the, how would I say, urgent priority there. There is a ramp, there is an access. There is a lot of other things that needs to be done to the town hall accessibility. Generally, many items need to be addressed before that ramp is destroyed and rebuilt, I think.
Well, I appreciate that. I think that this $165,000 is more than the ramp, but I hear what you're saying. So I guess you're recusing yourself, or are you abstaining, or what are you doing?
I think so.
Okay.
I didn't hear what she said.
Mariana is not voting, is abstaining from the vote of adding the $165,000 back into the budget.
Okay.
And Mariana, do you also abstain from the vote on a $500,000 bond for?
No, I'm all for it. I just think that $160,000 if it's earmarked for the ramp, is a lot of money for the existing situation that's right there at the site. That's the only thing. I think the town hall has a lot of priorities and really needs all the money that they can get. But I don't think that that ramp is the high priority there because it works the way it is. It's not up to the code totally. It lacks few inches here and there, but it does work.
All right. And I'm the last, thank you, Mariana. I think you've got a bifurcated vote. I don't know if you can keep track of that, Paul.
Well, yeah, just a point of order, Madam.
Voted for it.
You've got a vote, you've got one, she's abstaining.
Right.
Because
So
she
you
doesn't
have
like,
seven.
she gives good reasons for her abstaining, which she didn't have to give.
Right.
I think we have a passed motion here. If you count the
Yes.
votes.
I think we do. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So the financials are going to be adjusted for the meeting with the FinCom on Thursday, April 1st. I would just like to actually, I'm looking at the chart to see if there's anything else that we actually have to actively discuss tonight. With the withdrawal of the new Nahant Land Company, that's off consideration. The planning board, we have not heard from them, and I think there's enough hurdles there that it will stay in the under review category and not be brought to town meeting at this point.
Number 10, East Point, is there any act that this committee must further take?
Nope. unless that was actually part of the fiscal year 21 article. And I only have it on this chart, Mickey, as a reminder that it will,
Right.
be with us in the future. As we look at the articles under fiscal year 21, Ellen, I don't know if you could just scroll up to that, please. I think
And-
the only thing that we have as business on this is that we have 2 withdrawn articles that affect the math. The Historical Society had already been withdrawn, but the Nahant Preservation Trust withdrew its East Nahant Historic District. So
What
that
letters are those, please?
I'm sorry?
On your, what letters are you referring to?
If you look at
You've got letters A, B, C, D, E.
D for the Historical Society had already been withdrawn, Mickey, and then also withdrawn is H for the Nahant Preservation
Okay.
Trust.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Lynn, also under FY 21 was an application from the Nahant Dory Club. And I believe the majority of that work has been completed without our funding. We had approved 17,000 to assist them.
Mhm.
And part of that was they were going to have an engineering study for a davit. I think the davit's the only piece that hasn't been completed. And I don't think we ever saw anything about an engineering study.
What item is that, Austin?
C.
Thank you.
You just
Oh,
grab-
are you saying we have 17,000 extra because it wasn't used?
Well, none of them were actually voted on at town hall last year, and that work moved forward, I believe. I mean, they have new floats and a new gangway.
So in other words, we will not be seeking 17,000 for item C.
I was thinking about that, from the discussion we had with the Legion. We can't retroactively pay for work that's been completed.
Well, so if you look at this, their match was $66,000 for a total project cost of $83,830. I'd have to go back into the application to understand exactly what portion of the $17,000 it was, but I mean, should we be back in touch with the Dory Club, Austin, and see if they need this money anymore? Would you do, I think that's what you were saying.
Yes, I could reach out to them.
Okay.
Yeah, I did quickly review that application when I noticed that this afternoon, and I was going to also follow up with the harbor master, see if he had any further discussions with them on their davit, which was part of that application.
Good pickup. Thank you, Austin.
That'd be great. Because if we don't need to put this forward, it would be great to understand that. Mickey, I assume that the Housing Authority continues to need the grant applications that were recommended.
Yes.
Yep. So I think what we could do is revise this chart according to tonight's discussion and then bring it forward as recommendations to the FinCom on Thursday night. In the meantime,
Lindsay, do you need any members of our committee to, I assume that you will be representing and speaking, do you need any of us to attend with you in support?
well, I certainly do, because this morning I was even suggesting that it would be great to have you, Ellen, and maybe I didn't suggest it. Maybe it was in my mind and I
No,
didn't.
you wrote it down.
I did.
Did
I
you?
did. Oh, you're right. I did. I said that would be great if Ellen and Goldberg, Paul, and Austin could join me in this presentation on Thursday night.
I'll be there.
That'd be great, Paul.
I'm going to just check right now the calendar and make sure I don't have anything Thursday night. I think I am good. Yes, I am good. I have something Thursday afternoon, not Thursday night.
I'm available as well.
Thank you. I'll double check that with Bob Vanderslice. I think they start at 6:30, but I'll get a confirmation and an invitation out to you. And others of this committee are certainly recommended, are certainly welcome to join us. What I will do for this, because I think that Paul's inquiries tonight have prompted me to go back into the 2008 recommendations and as clearly as possible pull out the items that would be at $500,000 bond scope. And I will sort of put that together in a more coherent way than I have offered tonight. So, all right.
Hey, Lynn, can I ask one question? Is the Ellingwood Chapel $50,000 from 2021 not included in the Ellingwood Chapel stuff that would be for the 2022?
That's right. It's
Okay.
not.
Okay.
And in fact, it's less Ellingwood Chapel and more Green Lawn Cemetery wall and archway. Nancy.
In 2022.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it's the archway that is the most troubled at this point. Because
Thank
people
you.
go through it, so.
So does that conclude our business, Lynn?
You know, Mickey, I know it's stunning, but I would have to say I can't think of anything and any more things to beat upon.
Let me
I
accommodate.
just have a quick question.
Sure.
Whoops.
Planning board, the Bear Pond ecosystem restoration study. Did we finish that up last week?
We're waiting for all three. We're waiting for them to coordinate with other parties in town.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah,
Well,
Ellen, I
sure.
mentioned that earlier. We have heard nothing back from them. I do know that in speaking with Tony today, that there was a meeting with the neighbors he had a Zoom meeting with the neighbors this past Thursday night and went through what the town is planning to do as part of the warrant item that they're putting forward this year.
Mhm.
I think that there was a fair amount of positive response from that. And we have heard nothing more from the planning board on their coordination efforts with the Conservation Commission,
Okay,
or Open Space and Recreation, or
Yeah,
Town
so-
Administration, or the neighbors. So I considered, as I said earlier, will continue under review for an indeterminate period of time.
okay, just checking.
Lynn,
Motion to adjourn.
can I add?
I have one more question for Lynn. For the FY22 recommendations, do we have to have those written prior to the meeting with the CPC?
With FinCom?
Yeah, I'm sorry, FinCom. So we have the recommendations from last year completed.
We do.
I'm just wondering if we need written recommendations.
You know what's really stunning about this, Austin? We have 3 articles to write recommendations for and a 4th for this bonding. So the 3 things that we need to write up would be number 2, the Nahant Little League. Number 5, the American Legion. Number 6, the town of Nahant. And then the new bond. Any volunteers, anyone? I think Austin's actually sort of opening a door.
I would take those first 2, the Little League and Legion.
Nice one, Austin. Good one. Okay. Well, I'm going to take the bond one. Austin, be a champ and also do the tennis court. It's going to be really easy.
Sure, I can do that.
Okay. All right. I did have a motion to adjourn. There was some more business following that. Is there any more business that needs to be discussed at this time? Well, all those in favor?
Aye.
Knock on your screens. Okay.
Aye.
All right. Great. So I'm going to read. I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought we were all done. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm just going to say, I'm going to readjust this schedule tonight and get this around to you. And I want to thank you very much. And we'll see you on,
Thursday.
several of you on Thursday night. I would like to keep the following Monday as the scheduled meeting because we may have
Yep.
some cleanup things to do.
Yep.
Okay,
April 5th.
it
Right,
is.
all. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you.
Very good.
See you
Thank you,
next
Lynn.
week.
Bye, everybody.
Good night. Thank
Hey,
you.
bye.